All right. We cut our scarf out of our neck blank, right? And then we had to take it and resaw the thickness on the head plate side to 5/8 inch thick, okay? Now that we've done that, obviously the way it fits is if this is your neck, this would be the body of the guitar over here. This thing just flips over like this and lines up there, and you have your neck with your head plate, okay? But we want a really good, solid, tight, flat joint right here. So we're gonna work on that right now. So to do this, I'm gonna use one of my favorite tricks. Double-sided tape works, but it's expensive, and it also doesn't work quite as well as the old tape and glue trick. So a lot of you have already seen this and used it. But for those who haven't, it's one of my favorite things. Just put a piece of tape on the workpiece. And I'm going to put a piece of tape on my bench. Okay? I'm going to take a piece of, or some of the glue, CA glue, and I'm going to put one thin line right down the middle. Not all the way to the ends because I don't want it squeezing out. Okay? I'm going to use some activator and spray it on the piece that I did not put the glue on. And then I'm going to, get it off the edge. You want that? Okay. Now, just hold it for a couple seconds so the activator will do its work, and now it's not going to go anywhere, okay? Now you take the head plate side, and you're going to line it up with a straight edge until you're nice and flush, okay? Now, once I've got that, get a good screw clamp, and I'm going to clamp this sucker down. Maybe put that too far in. So I will use a block. There we go. It's really good to get it to the middle of the clamp. Okay. Now I want to go back pretty far, so as you're working with it, you're not going to be hitting that clamp. So I'm kind of at the back of the head plate, pretty far. Okay, once I get that on there, everything's lined up. And I'm going to put some pencil scratch marks all the way across it so I can see where I'm at. Now, the way I like to do mine, everybody does them differently. I use a couple of different tools, but I use a piece of granite backsplash. Get this from a granite countertop company. They throw these away. They make a backsplash. They get leftovers, or they break or crack, like the case of this one. And I didn't even bother cutting it. It's 4 inches wide and about 6 inches long. And then I just attach sandpaper to it. Makes it really easy to work with, okay? But it's super flat, and so I can keep it super flat. Now, the other mark that I want to make on here is I want to take my square and I want to make a mark just at the ridge, or right on the flat side of the board, just past the ridge where it goes over. Okay, make a nice dark line, and that'll help you to stay square. Okay, now that I've done that, I've got all my marks on there. I'm going to go ahead and use my, this probably isn't the best bench, but it's what I have to work with right now. And I'm going to mark this, or sand it a little bit, and it's going to reveal my high spots. I've got a high spot up here, and I've got a high spot down here. Now I can take a plane, and I can start to work some of those high spots. Okay, come back in with my sanding block, and I can start to see where I've got a little bit of a divot right here, so we're going to need to take good peeling off all the way across. Now, I'll tell you, I've already lost my line up here because I've taken too much off, so I'm just going to redraw it on here. Because again, as you're sanding here, if one side of this line or the other starts to disappear before the other part of it, then you know you're out of square and you got to adjust it and you've got to get it back, you know, to where you need it to be. So if it's starting to disappear over here, then favor this side and start to give it a little bit more sanding on that side. Right now I'm staying pretty square, so I'm going to flatten it again. And I'm going to use my pencil to kind of show me my highs and lows. This sandpaper really does need to be changed. Okay, looks like I'm a little high on the edge here. So I'll use my planer again. And I'll just take a strip of that off, or peel a little bit of it off, and see where we land. Now with good sandpaper, I've literally scarfed the entire joint in a few passes with like some good 60 or 80 grit on this blank. So it can go a lot quicker than I'm making it. But this is how you're going to dress your joint. And then once we get this all the way done, then we'll get it into the glue clamp. Okay. All right, we're good. We're just going to keep going. Again, the idea is when you're all done with this, you want to be able to look all the way down and make sure you see no light. Look all the way across, see no light. And most important, you want to be nice and square here. And I can see that I am no longer square, so I need to actually work this a little bit. I've got too much off of this side now. So it's actually starting to look pretty good. Yeah, that's actually working out really well now. Now it's getting nice and square, and we're getting a lot closer to flat. Okay, I am going to do the rest of this off of camera because I want to replace this piece of sandpaper. It's pretty trash. It's not really doing much anymore. So I'll replace that and get this dressed, and then we'll put it into the clamps and show you how that works. Okay, I had replaced my sandpaper on my block and was able to get in there and really clean it up nice. So the most important things are, number one, there's no light coming through at all this way or this way at any point. You can kind of see that I'm nice and flat, okay? The other thing is that I am nice and square. Okay, now it's ready for glue up. So we'll do that. Okay, I took my clamp off. So this is nice and, you know, because it's all done. Now we got to get this off of the tape, the double-sided tape. It's really easy. It just has to come up. It won't move side to side at all. That's what makes it really great for sanding or working with it. But just take a chisel or something like that, and it just pulls it right off of the tape. And now your tape, if I don't have a messed up end of tape, then your tape just comes right up and off, and you're good to go. So. Okay, we got everything ready, prepared. I've taken some time to sand each of these blocks so that they're nice and flat. So as I glue them up, they're going to be a nice solid glue joint. We just dressed our scarf joint. Okay, so this is how you do a setup on this jig for gluing up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to set a clamp kind of close to the neck, but on this side of the scarf joint. And what that does is that tightens me in pretty good so that as I push the head plate in, it's not going to lift the rest of the neck away. I want that joint right here to be really even. Oh, and very important, if we're going to use glue, we need to not glue it to our workpiece. So I'm going to throw in a couple of these pieces of wax paper. I get it from Costco in boxes. And so we'll throw a couple of those in here. I'll throw one on the side there. Put my heel stack in there. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Got all that where I want it to be. This is all protected now. So I'll take my clamp and I'll clamp it maybe, you know, 1/2 inch back from the joint there, just so that it's nice and tight down. Okay. Now I can take my scarf joint and we can set up our thickness, or, you know, our length. And the idea of this is anytime you glue something up, you put glue on it, and it acts like hydraulics. It just wants to move. You clamp it. I'm sure if you've glued any woodworking, you've experienced where you glue it and it just wants to slip off on you. Well, this is going to completely eliminate that. So I undid my hand screws. I'm going to bring this plate. I'm going to push this in till it's just nice and snug. I don't want to get crazy with it. I just want to make it snug. I'm going to bring in my plate, tighten my screws down, and now that's where I need it to be. Now I can, if I need to, lift it straight out. We're good to go. Okay, so we can start putting some glue on. I've already taken the time to orient all these pieces of glue. And I like to use just an old credit card, my thrifty car rental club card, to get a nice even spreading of the glue. Because I'm not putting it on this side of the neck, I'm going to make it fairly thick. Not so much that I'm going to have a ton of squeeze out, but I don't want it so thin that it's, you know, not getting, it's going to be, I don't want a dry joint, okay? So we got that on there, and I'll put it in. Okay, and I'll grab my next one and do the same thing. Good. Then my next one, this was kind of sad. This piece of Honduran mahogany really had some beautiful figure in it, but only on the board that I bought I was able to get 4 neck blanks out of it. One of them had some really nice curl in it. The problem was there was a knot in that one board. So the best board was the one that I had to use for all my blocks, which means you're not going to see any of that curl. Bummer, but it is what it is. Okay. My last one, this one might not even be necessary. It probably will. Most of this one will get cut off, but I'd rather have a little bit too much and then have to trim it than add something to it later, which I've had to do that as well. So, okay, now that we've got all of our blocks glued in, pretty simple. I'm not worried. Usually I put a clamping cowl on here to keep from denting the wood in. I'm not worried about that because I know I'm going to cut the majority of that heel off. So I'm just going to bring it in and pull it together. And as I do, I want to make sure everything stays nice and flat down into the fixture here. And we're good. That's it. You can take some time to clean the glue off. That's totally fine. Okay, now the next one is we're going to glue your scarf joint. I glue this one first because then everything's just nice and solid in this jig or fixture, and then I can add this last one in and we're good to go. So on this one, I am going to put the glue on the head plate part. So I went ahead and drew a line. That didn't come out very well. Okay, so I drew a line so I know to put glue up to that and not any further. So get some glue on there. Take my credit card and pull it away. That way I can bring it right up to the line. And again, might need to add a little bit of glue because I want it to not be a starved joint. I don't want any dry joints on this. Okay, that's nice and even. Okay, so we got glue just on the back. So I can slide this in, get it where it needs to go. Again, this is being held down so that it can't push in and lift it away. Then I'm going to bring the plate in, tighten that down, and we're going to carve the neck, so I'm not worried about denting that in either. So I'm going to come out a little bit further, put it about here, because once this clamp is in, I can take this one and just move it over. And now I'm on the joint. And we are so golden here. Okay, I will take some time to clean off that glue. Scrape it off. I'll scrape it off with a razor blade as well. Just easier to clean off when it's wet than later. So then I'll do the same with this top. Just try to get underneath the clamps. And I'm just going to wipe it onto my craft paper or wax paper. And we're good to go. And we have glued up our first neck in this jig.